الله أكبر الله أكبر.
Today, we're going to talk about the signs before the Day of Judgment, but we're going to start with the Mahdi. The Mahdi puts us in a dangerous spot because right after it, we start to see the big signs before the Day of Judgment. It's important to talk about the Mahdi and figure out roughly when he will appear, and what the world will look like when he does so that no one can trick us. No one has come to tell us they are the Mahdi or that the Mahdi will be here in 5 years, and we need to set up a before that happens. And that has been used before, and people have gotten in trouble because of the same ideas and thoughts. The more you do, the more you know about Shah, the more it will guard and protect you. So, let's start with this narrated by In his by the Prophet said, towards the end of time the will emerge. All will provide rain for him and the earth will bring forth its vegetation. There will be a lot of money, will be a lot, and the Ummah will get bigger. He will stay for about 7 or 8 years. He is just a small sign. We said, some scholars say that he was a very important sign, but that is not true. There are 10 main signs. One of the less important signs is, let's look at another hadith because we already know a lot about him and will be able to spot him when he comes. So in this it's narrated by Abu, that the Prophet said that if there was only 1 day left on earth, which means there was only 1 day left until the Day of Judgment, Allah would make that day longer so that a man from my family or mine could come. He will take my name, and his dad will take my dad's name. So, don't forget that rule. We told you to put the whole story together, just like if you just looked at this story. I don't know what the heck is going on, but if you put it together with the one we talked about before and the one we'll keep talking about, you'll get a bigger and more complete picture of the Mahdi, who he is, and everything else. This is another way for the pro to say that he has to come. Even if there is only 1 day left, Allah will make that day long enough so that melody comes. You understand? Then came the proem. If a man comes from me or my family, he will have my name, and his father will have my father's name. So, the Mahdis will be called Muhammad Ab. That's what he'll be called. It could not be Abdu. Then he tells me my name is Mahdi. Muhammad must be right. I Abdu not. He went to court and changed it. All right. He was, then he went. He went to court and changed his name to Muhammad. He says, why are you doing that, my friend? He says, well, that makes it more likely that I'll become the Mahdi. Okay, then what should we do about the Mahdi? I know that we know a lot of people whose name is Mahdi, but his name is not Mahdi. It's a title, so it doesn't mean that his name is the one or the most guided or the one who is guided. This is just a name. Muhammad is his name. Like our Prophet, Abdullah will be the name of his father. He will come from a next family. Several stories say that he will be Al-Hassan's son or daughter. The Shia, on the other hand, have it through Sain, and they have a problem with Al-Hassan because their whole religion is based on the idea that Ali should have been the leader, and then his son should have taken over. He just waited for his turn, and they took it more than once. So, about Al-Hassan and what he did. If you remember when Al-Hassan was young and went to the prom, he held their hands and said, "This is my son." He said that he's like a boss or a leader. Then he said, Allah will bring together 2 groups of people. So, after Ahu was killed, Al-Hassan took over, but there were already 2 for the sake of Muslim unity, and he gave up his power and came under the control of the. It's true, he gave up both of these things for the sake of the Ummah, for Alan, and for the unity of the Ummah as a whole, and so that no blood will be shed. It's a definite no. But this is a big deal for the Shia because the SHK, the leader of their religion, is Ali, and his children should have taken over after he died. So, in their plan, Ali is supposed to be looking for the Prophet, but instead he comes and takes the job for 2 years. So, they say, Ali is sitting on the sidelines, angry, waiting for his turn. Then he can speak. Lastly, he should come when Abu dies. Omar was the for 10 years, but now that it's been 12 years, he's angry and on the sidelines. Then, Lon stabs Omar, killing him. Now it's his turn. Artman comes along and runs it for 12 years. So he's been waiting for 24 years, and now it's finally his turn. But when he becomes Khalifa, there is trouble. It only lasts 6 months. Then someone kills him. So, it makes sense that his son should now take over. After years, about 2.5 decades after Al-Hassan takes over. Then he says, here, I'm giving up. So, they have a problem because they want to stay together, Hassan. But he will be through Al-Hassan's children or grandchildren. and it seems like Lost Panel is giving him this gift almost to make up for the first time he gave up. But it happened thousands of years later through one of his children. Now, Sunan Abu gives a description of the Mak. This story comes from the Prophet. He says, I made the Mak. He comes from me, which means he is in my family. He will have a forehead that stands out, and a pointed nose, which is called an aquiline nose. And he will fill the earth with justice and fairness, just as it was full of oppression and unfairness before him. He will be in charge for 7 years. So this is the only real description of how the Mai looks, and that's it. Everything and everything else about him describes his body. Weak or not the real thing. This is the only one we know for sure is real. Now we know what his name is. We know that his name is Ab Muhammad I Abdu and that his title is Al Mahdi, which means the guided one or the most guided. He has a big forehead and a bridge in the middle of his nose, right. And he will be part of the family of prophets because he will be a direct descendant of. And when he comes, Allah will give him rain, and the earth will give him plants. There will be a lot of money and a lot of cattle. The Ummah will grow, and he will be in charge for 7 or 8 years. Now, let's talk about some interesting things that will happen before he shows up. Let's just say that it's been raised to the level of acceptable or sahih as an example. I guess I should have said that. The head basically says that 3 sons of caliphs will fight over your treasure, but none of them will win it. The black banners will then come from the east in a way that has never been seen before. In the story that Hoban tells, he says something else that I don't remember. Then he told them, when you see him, he meant the Mahdi, promise to follow him. Even if you have to crawl through the snow to get there, the Mahdi is the most important thing, is to swear loyalty to the Mahdi. And to do so, you have to crawl over the snow. How can I tell that it's the Mahdi? Like, I just saw a group of people, and they told me that's the Mahdi. So do I have to go look at him, look at his nose, ask him his name, and show me proof that you're you? You go to Asan again. We know it's like this because of this. It's when, which means that when he comes out, everyone will accept him right away. So, I'm going back to the Mahdi I met and who lives there. People have been arguing with him for 15 years about whether or not he is the Mahdi. He said he had 15 followers, but nobody has accepted him, and you don't want to meet them. If he could persuade them, they would say things like, I don't even want to meet those guys. On the other hand, everyone knows the Mahdi, right? And a large number of people like him. So, going back to the Hadith, we're saying that before his time, the Proem said, 3 will fight each other for your treasure or another. The story talks about the treasures of the Caliph had 3 sons. So, first of all, that means there will be a Caliph. And the scholars also said that he'll be strong because he'll be in charge of the Muslims. We know we can't change it right now. It will be run by Muslims because that's where they pray. He will pray when he comes out. Don't be free. Because of this, some people say, we're waiting for the Mahdi, which will set us free. He won't? No. You'll get out. It makes people lazy because there's nothing they can do because the Ma will free the Mahdi. So, what should I do? I have to do nothing but sit and wait for the Mahdi. No, that's not what it says. The Mad Praise says, someone has already been set free. It could be under this Caliph, who is obviously strong. And, the story of the is interesting if you look at it. You can learn something from it. The Mahdi doesn't just sit around and wait for Isabnom to come. He knows that he can't kill the jail and Isabnom at the same time. And he just sits there, builds an army, and fights him from day one. The next day, he is ready to fight, and then Asaulium comes down. So they didn't wait around for Asa to do its job. You don't sit around waiting for the Mahdi to do your work for you. But it's not true that the Mahdi frees time will be set free before he. And, we don't know how long before. Is it soon? Should we make art the way we want to see it? Anyway, the point is that we can see that it's a good one. So, one story says that Caliph's 3 sons will fight in a civil war that the Ummah has never seen before. They will fight over the treasures of the Kaaba. What does it mean then? The valuable things of the, are there buried treasures? Is there or will there be gold buried under the Kaaba? Someone might hide gold under the Kaaba, so it will be common knowledge that they put this many tons of gold under the Kaaba and so on. The expert said, 1. It's possible that some gold will be put under the Kaaba in the future, or that someone thinks there's gold under the Kaaba for some reason. But some people said the treasures of the Kaaba. The Caliph, or the person in charge, is in charge of the Kaaba and everything else. The treasures, or zak, are the money that comes in. So that's what it means, according to their explanation, that the treasures are in Kaaba or La Island. but it makes a lot of sense. It makes sense. We can also see that the Mahdi is not exactly in the time we are talking about, the time we are living in now. It's true, and we've said that more than once, that if certain things happen, the world we live in now could change a lot in 10 years. Things are very bad all over the world. If they do, the world will look very, very different in 10 years. But right now, with FEMA broken up into all these different countries, republics, states, and so on, there's no sign of it. And right now, it's not world. This could happen to us, maybe quite unlikely. The point is that no one can, because these are things that can't be seen. Everyone tries to look smart and tell you what they think you want to hear. Tell them to go back to the drawing board and start over with the math. It also talks about bows and arrows, but we explain that we don't have to go back to them. He will fill the world with justice, just like it was filled with injustice before him. This one says that he will look like the pro. He will have the pro's name and act like him, but not look like him. It was said that Allah will fix him in one night. Some experts said that means he will change his mind right away, and his change of mind shows that he thinks he will change overnight. Some people said that would be enough to make him righteous right away. So he is just like everyone else. He might pray, but he might not. The point is that he's not being watched. Nobody knows him. When he's 14 and in top field class, nobody sees his good manners and thinks, that boy Muhammad might be crazy. He's an amazing kid. Nobody knows him. He goes under and then over the radar. He corrects him in every way. Does that mean he changes his mind overnight or that he just becomes good overnight? Does that also mean that he was a bad person? He wasn't praying, he was doing something else. Some scholars say that it doesn't have to mean that he is unknown and then suddenly becomes the best person in the UMK. Okay, so far we have quite a few descriptions of the Mahdi. He will come from the east, and the first people who support him will come from the east as well. He'll come to me, and the people will ask him to say the Pledge of Allegiance, which he will refuse. We'll get to another hadith that tells us exactly where they give him the pledge. From the Mom to the Rock, the king's crown and Ibrahim's wife. There it is, right there. Then, though, and this is what's interesting, he will refuse. The scholar doesn't want to be in charge. But because of this, if you see someone asking you to pledge to them as the Mahdi, or to follow them, or to believe in them, or anything else, they are already disqualified because you don't fit the description of the Mahdi. First of all, we're not between the Roca and the Moham. We aren't even in Mecca, and you have to not want it to be true. That's why we said, anyone who says something or has a video on YouTube, even though some Mahdis have channels on YouTube, those who say they are the Mahdi are not the Mahdi as soon as they say follow me or like and follow me and subscribe. What's interesting is that if you watch videos of the harem, and I think I've said this before, you'll see a lot of police officers. They're there to protect the imam because imams do get attacked, and one of them was stabbed. But the microphone the imam is reading into is more interesting than the imam himself. So, they can see that those police officers aren't praying, they're just standing there. They are watching over the imam and the microphone, mostly because people who say they are the Mahdi will grab the microphone and yell that they are the Mahdi. In one video, a young man claims to be the Mac, and it's like, is just. Then you hear this young man's voice, which sounds like it could be from 17 to 20 years old. He just picks up the microphone and yells, I am the long-awaited one. Then you hear the police wrestle him to the ground. People are trying so hard to do that. One of my best friends, Sharis, was on PTV when a man came on and said he was him. The video got a lot of attention and was watched by millions of people. You could have. Where the man who says he is the Mahdi comes. So Shah asked him, he could have asked him many things to prove he wasn't the Mahdi, but he just asked him if he spoke Arabic. Because the Mahdi will speak Arabic. The crowd started clapping when it became clear that the man didn't speak Arabic. But to show that he knew Arabic, he started reciting Alpha. So, we said he would rule for 7 years in a fair and just way. Some of the wrong ideas that some people have. It was here, and then he or she ran away. It doesn't fit any pattern at all. And another mistaken belief is that we have to either find the Mai or make the Mai. We're sick and tired of everything that's going on in the Ummah. There will be a contest. It will be called American Idol. We'll have judges, and if your name is Muhammad and you show up, you can compete. If you don't want people to vote for you, change your name and come anyway. Who, in your opinion, would be the best? Certainly, I think I've been talking about this for too long. Let's move on. Some people said they were the Mac, while others said other people were the Mahdi. Abba told me that is the Mac. Some scholars had the silly idea that since Nuck is the Mac, he is the one who will come back and fix everything. He said that a man named was the Mac, which is Muhammad. He was the son of Ali, and he was a great man and one of the scholars. So there's Al-Hassan, and then there's Mohem. Why is he called something else? Why doesn't he have a name? Because we come from a good family, and everyone knows what a good family is. Fal was the first person to die after the Prophet Jerusalem, if you remember. When he said something in her ear, she laughed. He told her that she would be the first person in his family to die with him. So, of course, she dies. So he marries and has a son named Mohem. Here are more. But we were talking about Muhammad, and he goes by the name Ik. To cut him off from Fatima's lineage as a prophet, which is a very respectable and smart thing to do. So Muhammad is called by the name of his mother, even though he was known to be Naf's son. Also, someone said that he was the Mahdi. Then, Al-Abdullah Bari died in 514. Muhammad Ad came after the Hira. Okay, we said that Muhammad Abk has to be the name. What do we have so far? Some people have said that Al-Mahdi, the leader of the Abba Empire, will come back before the end of time. Okay, his has to be Muhammad Abk. That is not Muhammad Abdu. Got it. Close, but also wrong. Then Muhammad Ab Sudan said that he is a Mahi. This person died in 1885, so it hasn't been that long. We'll talk about him again soon. People in Sudan still think this guy was a Mani until this day. Then Mohammed Abdu came along. Oh, this one is getting risky. And this was claimed. Whose name is. In 1979, a group of young men thought that one of them was a terrorist, so they went into the harem. The harem was taken over by them. Control of theme for 2 weeks. That's the story I'll start with when I see Sal next in Shah.